Park in San Diego, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball. Tonight, the Mets meet the San Diego Padres. And the Mets rolled into San Diego on Thursday. They were flying high, looking pretty scary. But thus far, the Padres have been a big roadblock. Time to stop monkeying around. Time to get ferocious yet again. Hello everyone, welcome inside Petco Park. I'm Steve Gelbs, Gary Cohen, Ron Darling ahead in just a little bit. The Mets dropped their second in a row yesterday here in San Diego, 2-0. The offense going a bit silent on the start of this road trip, but the bullpen remains hot. A couple of scoreless innings yesterday as this bullpen continues to be one of the best in the National League, an ERA of 2.69. That is tops in the NL so far this season, and one of the reasons why is the guy that's sitting with me right now, and that's Jim Henderson, who has been really fantastic since coming over here. And Jim, before we get to you personally, what do you think has contributed most to this bullpen being such a good unit so far?
I think we kind of have to rely off each other. A lot of guys out there are kind of one-inning guys, so you got to know that the guy behind is going to pick you up, and just kind of have faith in that. And so you go out there and be aggressive as you can, knowing that you have a lot of help out there.
For you, you hadn't pitched in the major leagues since 2014 because of the shoulder surgery. And I remember speaking to you in spring training, you talking about just wanting to get a shot to prove yourself. At this point, an ERA sub-1, and we're into May now, have you even exceeded your own expectations?
Yeah, it's been good so far. Again, I still like to contribute as much as you can. I think everybody wants to do as much as they can for the team, and for me, that's the same thing. So far, I've been fortunate. I've been on a good roll to start the season, and I just hope to keep that up.
You've been a closer before. Addison Reed's been a closer before, and clearly J. Reese Familia is now the current closer. There's so much talk with bullpen guys about wanting to know their role. It's so important for their routine. But why do you think that you and Addison have been able to have such a great level of success transitioning out of that ninth inning role?
Probably because of the closing experience we have. We just have that same mentality when we go in. I don't think either of us have kind of lost that. We go in there in the 6th or 7th or 8th inning, and you make it like a save situation. Every pitch is important, and you just attack as best you can.
Jim Henderson, appreciate you giving us a couple of minutes so close here to game time. Good luck tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Mets, Padres, beautiful San Diego, California. We'll be right back on WPIX. Hyundai. The latest lineup of cars and SUVs you'll find at your local Hyundai dealer aren't just new, they're better. By M&T Bank, what's important to you is important at M&T Bank. Learn more at mtb.com/meet us. By Infinity, visit your local Infinity retailer for a test drive. By Raymore and Flanagan Furniture, furnishing your style. By Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and by ChevyOffers.com. Chevy's upcoming schedule, the Mets, is presented by ChevyOffers.com, and you look, finishing up the San Diego 4-game trip here tomorrow before heading up to LA for another 4-game swing. Then it's back through the Rocky Mountains for 3 in Colorado before returning back to New York. Tonight, Bartolo Colon will look to start the chase for Juan Marichal, past Pedro Martinez with 220 wins last start, to possess sole second place in the Dominican Republic in terms of Dominican Republic-born pitchers. James Shields, he will be going for the Padres, picked up his first win of the season in his last start. Has not been bad at all this year. Just 7 runs of support, though, in 39 innings for Shields. When we come back, Gary and Ron, first pitch, Mets and Padres. Stay with us.
Guys, they're getting there in terms of the weather.
It's not cloudy. It's perfect today. What are you talking about?
It's 60 degrees. Need at least 10 more. Starting lineup brought to you by Nissan. Mets back to their normal starting lineup after an offbeat lineup yesterday against the left-hander. Mets have been stymied through the first 2 games of this series, and looking for better tonight against the veteran right-hander James Shields.
Well, James Shields, big game James is what they call him. If the Padres don't get much better, he won't have any big games this year. But he is one of the workhorses of his generation of pitcher. He's a guy that takes the ball, goes 200 innings every single year. And really, that 1-4 record, not a reflection of James. The run support he has gotten has been just putrid. The defense for the Padres, they're going to stay with the same. Why wouldn't they? 2-0 in these first 2 games. Upton Jr., Jay, and Kemp. In the infield, Ramirez has looked very good. Weeks, Wallace, and Myers on the corner. And Derek Norris behind the plate. Their defense has been solid. That play by Upton to Ramirez to get Cabrera last night was maybe the turning point of the game.
Themes of the game brought to you by your local Hyundai dealer.
Well, Curtis has a difficult time against big game James. Remember, James was at Tampa Bay in that AL East. Bartolo gets better. The first time through, he's tough. After that, much better. And James Shields, I talked about it a little before. He's just, he's one of those guys that, I don't know, I really admire because, you know, he's been obviously probably a better pitcher than I was, but that's the kind of pitcher I was. You know, take the ball, go out there, pitch a lot of innings, and good things will happen. And he's also always been a leader of every staff that he's been. And the Kansas City Royals were much better after he left.
200 or more innings, 9 straight seasons. Is the only pitcher in Major League Baseball who's done that the last 9 years. Now 34 years old. Curtis Granderson will lead off. David Wright and Michael Conforto behind him. Mets have scored a total of 3 runs in the first 2 games of this series. And those 3 runs all came in the 9th inning on Thursday night via the home run. Granderson had one of those. Shields set to go, and his first pitch of this late afternoon is off the corner for ball 1, and we're underway. 5:30 start here in San Diego, so you're going to have some shadows when the sun comes out from behind the clouds. They'll encroach from the third base line in toward the mound. And change up in for a strike to Granderson, 1-1.
Big fan of the 5:30 start personally, folks.
Now a pitcher would say that because on a sunny day 5:30 is optimum pitching time.
Well, I'm saying it as an announcer, and I have no skin in the game. 5:30 is beautiful. I got a workout in. I went to Coronado for lunch with our producer Greg Picker. Got here to get my work done, and we're going to have dinner later. I mean, how good does that get?
So you're saying you've got a full day.
Oh.
Granderson lifts one out to right center, and John Jay is over. There have been a lot of fly ball outs off Met bats in this series, and the first out of this game is recorded on the fly ball as well.
The Mets keep hitting the ball in the air to center field, and it just keeps dying out there.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now David Wright. David 0 for 5 in this series with 3 walks. David up in the top 10 in the National League in walks, also in the top 3 in the league in strikeouts. That's the park in the park out beyond center field. $5. Bring your blanket, watch the game what you can see through the opening, and the rest
today.
of it on a big screen TV back there.
Awesome.
And as you can probably hear, there's a large contingent of Mets fans here out in the stands in right field, and they are making an enormous amount of noise. And you know, the San Diego fans are laid back, so they're getting out yelled by the, I think it's about 1,700 Met fans out there.
Mets pitchers were all saying hi to them. That's today with their shirts. Orange is making someone in the new black.
1-2 to right with Michael Conforto waiting on deck.
You know, Gary, we were really lucky. Every place we would go, San Diego, no one came to the games. We would pack the stadium. Atlanta, no one would come to the stadium. All the New Yorkers that work for Coca-Cola would come. Nice picture there, Gary, by the way. That's beautiful. They have one of Will Ferrell as Ron Burgundy out there, too. So
don't worry, they'll get you eventually.
No, they won't.
David standing in the sunshine, Shields in the shadow. 2-2 on the way, and this is outside of the fastball.
As they get better and better, and you know, they went to the World Series last year, it's almost like for the team I played on, it was like the Grateful Dead. Every place you went, you had a contingent of fans.
And David lays off. 3-2 changeup from Shields, and David's on with a 1-out walk.
Shields is a little disgusted with the mound so far. Slipping and sliding. See him yelling at himself on that 3-2 changeup, on that 2-strike changeup.
Well, he'll throw his changeup at any count. Loves his cutter as well. Much more effective against left-hand hitters than he is against righties with that combination.
He'll roll over a breaking ball every once in a while to get a strike.
Here's Conforto, who had most of the day off yesterday. He had a pinch hitting assignment. Struck out in the 8th inning. Michael now 0 for his last 14. He's seen his batting average dip below 300. That's of a bunch of people in slumps right now, as the offense has backed off over the last few days. Conforto takes the fastball inside, and that's been the steady diet for Michael.
Steady diet, and for the Mets offense, they get on first. They sometimes get on second. And they don't move unless the ball is hit over the fence. That's kind of what it's like right now.
55% of their runs this year have come via the home run, and every run in this series. Wright is running. Conforto drives one foul deep down the right field side. So David was in motion, and he'll come on back. Don't know if that was intended as a straight steal. I'd have to assume it was.
I think it was, and check myself. I said that they have not been doing any running, but considering what has happened here the last couple of days, David taking it on himself to be more aggressive.
Shields has a terrific pickoff move, but he's given up 4 steals in 5 tries already this year.
Well, that's why David takes such a skinny lead. He was just trying to time Shields. He won't go again.
2-2 to Conforto with Yoenis Cespedes waiting on deck. Mets for the most part this season have been getting off to fast starts, but they've not had a first inning hit yet in this series. Two coming, and Conforto pops it foul.
The interesting thing about Shields, and you don't know if the innings have piled up, but last year he had one of the best strikeout years he's had as a pro, and it's really come back to the pack this year.
Yeah, I think if you average last year and this year, you get about his career numbers. But this year only 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. Last year he was up around 9.
It's an Adidas baseball glove. Have you ever seen an Adidas glove?
I don't think I have.
That's my first. He's got that webbing. Usually you don't like to have webbing if you're a pitcher because you feel as though the hitter can see your grip inside the glove.
And Conforto goes down on the curveball, and Shields has his first strikeout. 2 out.
They are showing him some pitches away, but for the most part, every pitch is inside. Breaking balls and fastballs.
So 2 out, right still at first, and now Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes 2 for 7 in this series, including a 2-run homer Thursday night. Yoenis has now played 81 games as a Met, so exactly half of a regular season. 26 home runs, 71 runs batted in. That's 52 and 142 if you're math challenge. And Cespedes takes a strike.
Everyone has a phone with a calculator, Gary. They're not math challenge.
That's true. See that sun shining from behind the third base stands, drawing the shadows across the field toward first. Cespedes never had a hit against Shields. 0 for 7 in his career. Yeah, Padres have been pitching extremely well. They've won 6 of their last 8, and their pitching has been front and center. A 1.65 staff ERA over these last 8 games, and the Mets have seen tremendous starting pitching from Colin Ray and Drew Pomeranz in the first 2 games.
And you were impressed, weren't you, with their 4 relievers that they brought in last night?
Their bullpen always seems to be good. And Fernando Rodney's been perfect at the end of games for them. Cespedes with a poke of the cutter, and he fouls it away. 0-2.
That was an awkward swing by Cespedes. It tells me that these shadows are playing a little bit of a role here in the first inning.
Yeah, I know. I heard you say you like the 5:30 start. Lucas Duda would be next. Shows with that unique stretch. Fastball misses away, 1-2. Now, Shields doesn't look very happy with himself in general early in this game.
His body language is not good. He has more usually of a pretty extroverted gamer type body language. He looks really just disgusted and tired right now in his first inning. But he'll get it going.
Well, another first inning where the Mets have coaxed at least 20 pitches from the starter. And that one misses high, 2-2 to Cespedes.
Shields has an interesting follow through. He almost follows through facing center field.
Makes it difficult to field your position from that vantage point. Right side of the infield completely open for Cespedes. He rolled a base hit that way the other night. 2-2 coming.
And he launches one deep left field. Back toward the corner. Upton looking up. And it's out of here! Yoenis Yoenis Cespedes cracking one off the Western Metal Supply Company building. A 2-run shot for Cespedes, his 10th of the year, and the Mets have struck first in San Diego.
Sometimes you find out how strong certain hitters are. This was a changeup from Shields that completely fooled Cespedes. He hit it with one hand out in front, completely fooled, and kind of just dropped the bat on it. And he dropped the bat, and it went up to the second deck of that Western Metal Supply Company. That is some kind of strong.
370 feet of home run on a ball that fooled him. 10 home runs for Cespedes. That gives him sole possession of the club lead. One more than Neil Walker. His second in this series and his 9th in the last 17 games. He's putting together another one of those streaks like he did through August and September last year. Duda 0 for 7 in this series. And swings at the curveball and misses 1-1.
He's working on his second 81, Gary.
Well, it's 27 home runs in 82 games as a Met for Cespedes. And I said it last night, and you know, it's obviously a relatively small period of time compared to guys who, you know, played here 5-10 years. But he is as potent an offensive force as the Mets have ever had.
I agree. Totally agree. I think that Carlos Delgado in 2006, when he's on top of his game, was from the left side a bit similar.
2-2 to Duda.
Cespedes can do more. He's a better all-around player.
Now the Mets have ticked up to 56% of their runs via the home run, which is by far the most in the major leagues. As long as they keep hitting them,
yeah,
that works. It's when you have dry spells like they had last night that it hurts you. And Duda did not get a piece of that. Struck out on the curveball. Shields with a couple of strikeouts in the inning. But a 2-out 2-run homer for Cespedes parked it in the second deck of the warehouse down the line. And the Mets and Bartolo Colon a 2-0 lead. Common for the third straight day, the exact same lineup for the Padres, who've won the first 2 games of this series. John Jay has crushed the Mets throughout his career, but particularly these 2 days.
Well, the numbers keep falling for Bartolo Colon. These are his numbers this season, but 2 starts ago, 3,000 innings gone. Last start, 220 wins, which is one more than Pedro Martinez.
Check out the 3 walks and 28 strikeouts on Colon's ledger. Jay takes the first one high. Jay had 3 hits last night, 4 for 8 in the series, including 2 doubles and a home run. smacks this one out to center field. Cespedes goes back and reels it in for the first out.
Defensively for the Mets, Cespedes, you just saw in center field, flanked by Conforto and Granderson, brought to you by Tri Honda. And then in the infield, David Wright, the second play game combination, Cabrera and Walker, Duda and Plawecki behind the plate. Rene Rivera last night, 1.8 was the time from his release to second base. That was pretty impressive. We saw some great throws from him. Plawecki, though, back in the lineup.
Well, Cologne doesn't need quite as much assistance with the running game as Syndergaard. Will Myers at the plate, 1 for 8 in the series, homered on Thursday night. And he flies this one down the right field side, foul. And Granderson watches it go in the seats, 1-1. Will Myers, who was traded for James Shields.
That's right.
Remember, Myers was a Kansas City draftee, and the Royals traded him to Tampa Bay to get Shields. And now they're teammates together here in San Diego after Shields signed here as a free agent. Cologne with a knee-high fastball, 1-2.
The San Diego uniform has gone through many configurations. This one's a nice uniform, their home uniform. Solid.
Well, we've seen them wear 3 different uniforms in 3 games in this series. Rolled out to the right side for Walker, and Myers retired 2-away. Let me just tell you something. After watching a good chunk of the Arizona at Atlanta game this evening and looking at the Diamondbacks road uniforms, every other uniform is gorgeous by comparison.
The Arizona Diamondbacks uniform is the second worst uniform ever worn by a major league team.
White Sox shorts?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got the little collar, which is reminiscent of those old 70s White Sox uniforms.
The stripe up the side does not go up the entire leg.
It's just awful. Matt Kemp takes outside ball 1. I don't know who designed it and who signed off on it, but if you're a player wearing that uniform, what must you think?
It's got to be haute couture. It's got to be Givenchy or something. Can't be like normal baseball people.
Line right to David Wright, and Kemp is retired, and that gets Cologne a 1-2-3 opening inning. A bullet off the bat of Kemp. Mets have a 2-0 lead after 1. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. Follow Mets baseball live with the MLB.com and Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any time with Game Day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, and a whole lot more. Download MLB.com and Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Neil Walker got his first non-starting assignment yesterday. He's been battling a slump. 0 for his last 14 after striking out in his only at bat last night. Walker, Cabrera, and Plawecki for the Mets against James Shields in the second. Well, Shields' Achilles heel the last few years has been the home run ball. Last year gave up 33, which led the National League.
Their whole team gave up a lot of home runs, considering that they play in this ballpark.
They've tried to make this ballpark more fair for the hitters by moving the fences in a couple of times since it opened 12 years ago. But still, and you talked about this last night, the way the ball carries, particularly in the evening, makes it feel a lot bigger than the actual dimensions.
I remember, folks at home might remember him. He was a #1 pick. Phil Nevin was the biggest voice against how big this ballpark was, as he would have F7, 8, and 9 on his scorecard.
How about Brian Giles?
Brian Giles, another.
Walker takes a cut at a changeup. 2-2. Well, Petco Park does not yield much for the hitters. And it has not, even since they moved the fences in after 2012. It used to be deeper in right. It was deeper in center. Two to Walker. The ball at his feet in the full count.
When are they going to do something that's better for the pitchers? They ever going to do that? You know, it's always bringing the fences in. They move the backstops closer.
They put the shifts in for the pitchers.
That's right.
Think of all the hits that get taken away. 3-2 coming. And Walker takes one the other way toward the left field corner. Upton getting over and makes the grab. Melvin Upton looking smooth out in left field. He's had a very good defensive start to his season.
You know, remember Neil Walker hit a home run to left field earlier this year, and Melvin Upton Jr. was playing him like a pull right-handed hitter. So that's the reason he was able to get to that baseball.
He looks better in left, I think, than he did the last few years playing center.
He looks better in general in everything that he does. He's taken some pitches. You know, he looks like he's hustling a little more in the field.
This has Dribble Cabrera 2 for 7 in the series. If you talk to the Padres people, they will tell you that Mark McGwire has had a very positive influence on Melvin Upton.
Well, Mark is a Mark is a really gregarious kind of guy, who, of course, you know, he's got his checkered career that he has to live with forever. But he's the kind of guy you like to be around.
Mark is now the bench coach with the Padres under Andy Green. Rolled out to the right side. The shortstop Ramirez has to make the quick toss. And that's a 6-3 put out on the right side of the infield. 2 out.
And I only say that, folks, because I played with Mark. And I love to judge people when they have their worst moments, because that's what you really see, especially ball players. And when I got there in '91, he hit barely over 200, maybe 201, 210. And he couldn't have been any nicer. He couldn't have worked any harder. So it really said a lot about him as a human being.
Here's Kevin Plawecki. 1 for 3 in this series. Rene Rivera caught yesterday. And Plawecki drives one to center. Jay got a late start, and it's off his glove, rolling back to the fence. Plawecki to second. He'll pull in there with a 2-out double. Now, Jay didn't get a great break on the ball, but he got the glove on it, just couldn't reel it in.
But it's the ball that's hit right at the center fielder, and he paused just a second. And as that ball got out there, it kind of went back over his right shoulder. And that's why he missed it.
It's the first extra base hit of the season for Kevin Plawecki. His 8th hit, his first double.
So Jay's not perfect. He's been pretty perfect this entire series.
That's Federalist 434. The not perfect clause.
My final thing on McGwire, I know the folks are going to say, you know, he's PEDs. Well, he's going to have to live with that his entire career. Forever, his entire life, not career, his entire life. But I'm just telling you from my dealings
as a teammate.
Big Sack, we used to call him, was a great guy to be around.
Cologne looking for his first hit of the year.
He drives one deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened. The team vacates the dugout as Bartolo takes the long trot. His first career home run. And there will be nobody in the dugout to greet him. This is one of the great moments in the history of baseball. Bartolo Colon has gone deep.
I want to say that was one of the longest home run trots I've ever seen, but I think that's how fast he runs.
And now they'll flood up the tunnel and give him his just due. His 226th career at bat. You knew if he ever made contact in just the right way, he was strong enough to do it. And now Bartolo has brought down the house. This ain't nothing. That was fantastic.
So 3,000 innings 2 starts ago, 220 to beat Martinez last start, and now his first home run.
Who's the oldest guy to hit his first major league home run?
Wow.
He's 2 weeks short of 43 years old.
Fastball right down the middle, and he knew it. As soon as he hit it, he dropped the bat, and he never watched it leave the park. He knew it.
Like he'd done it 500 times before.
By the way, it only went like 5 rows deep, so. But it was enough.
Unbelievable.
Anderson breaks his bat, and Ramirez again on the right side, able to make the play to retire the side.
But Bartolo Colon has outdone himself. The ageless wonder keeps adding to his legend.
And his teammates could not be prouder.
Take it with you, Bart.
My trip's complete.
To circle the bases. That may be a record too. And now Cologne, whose heartbeat never gets too fast, back to the mound to face Brett Wallace, now with a 4-0 lead.
On a day that the Kentucky Derby happened, this was the greatest race I've ever seen around the bases.
Well, a favorite won the Derby. This was the biggest upset ever. Scoreless, 3 for 7 in the series. Well, you knew that the Mets were relying on the long ball. You just didn't know who they'd rely on tonight. Into the shift, David Wright playing on the right side. And that's a 5-3 put out. Wallace retired, 1 away.
His heart's beating.
Come on.
No, Robles is feeling his heart.
He never gets excited.
You get excited when you hit a home run.
We're doing the research right now on the oldest player to ever hit his first major league home run.
I was thinking Satchel maybe.
Did he hit any?
I don't know. I'm just thinking. Minnie Minoso?
I mean, there can't be too many other contenders. "17 days shy of his 43rd birthday.
What a present. Wow.
That's one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
It's one of the greatest calls you've ever had, Gary. I don't care what you've done or what you ever do after this. That was amazing.
Well, suffice it to say that the internet is blowing up. Upton strikes out. First strikeout of the day for Cologne. He's retired the first 5.
Let's watch him. Because he knew it right away. I mean, he watches it here, but he knew it right away. Halfway down, drops the bat.
I thought maybe he was going to do a Batista with the bat.
That's right. I get goosebumps 2 times a year. Once on opening day, once when I do the postseason, the first game, and this is the first time I ever got one in season because of Cologne.
1-2 to Alexi Ramirez.
Kind of takes the shine off Cespedes' home run, doesn't it?
Well, Bart used both hands. Slow roller, circling in Cabrera, and throw on target. Side retired. 6 up and 6 down for Cologne to go with his long ball heroics. 4-0 Mets after 2. Watch the Mets battle the Brewers at 4:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a Mets bucket hat courtesy of Coca-Cola. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Still reliving the moment.
I think they have to reinstitute Bat Day at Citi Field. Bartolo Colon bat. Have to.
I just think it's great that the 2 big home run hitters are sitting side by side.
Yeah, what did you get? Change up? Yeah, mine was a fastball.
David Wright, who scored in front of Cespedes' home run.
Shields has not felt comfortable since the beginning of this game. Talking to himself.
Remember that 3-2 changeup he threw to right, where he was just kicking. 2-1 to David. When Shields came up to the big leagues in 2006, his first year pitching a full season was 2007. And from that year on, no pitcher has worked more innings in the major leagues than James Shields.
Well, the thing about James Shields is that it was very interesting. He didn't get a lot of play on the free agent market because the way the game works today, as he walks right for the second time, is that they were afraid that he had thrown too many innings. Last year was a solid year, not a great year.
Yeah, 3.91 ERA, not great, not bad. Well, among active pitchers, only those 4 are even close to Shields in terms of seasons with 200 innings, but Bart has stretched it out over a much longer period of time.
And for you folks at home, this is something that's going to go away. It's having seasons over 200 innings is going to go away.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you and I are both old enough to remember when pitchers could throw 300 innings in a career in a season.
They'd make 40 starts a year. 40 times 7 is 280. Add in the complete games, that gets you to 300 plus.
The last pitcher to work 300 plus innings in a season was Steve Carlton in 1980. And now you're to the point where 200 is a goal. And a difficult one to reach.
I know when I was with the Mets, Mel Stottlemyre had a pitch counter that he would count the pitches. But especially with me, if I was having a particularly tough day throwing the ball over the plate, he would occasionally miss a couple, so he'd keep me under the limit.
Fordo swings over the curveball, 1-2. Carlton the last to throw 300 innings. Jim Palmer the last in the American League. To go back to 1985, Doc Gooden's big year, Doc had 276 2/3 that year.
That's right.
And that's the most in the National League. There hasn't been anybody reach that since then. 276.
Well, that year, Doc and I probably had over 500 together. So during the course of a year, your team is going to pitch around 1,450 innings, right? So if 2 pitchers eat up a third of that, it makes it a little easier on your bullpen and others.
Well, in those days you had 10-man pitching staffs.
That's right.
The whole formula was different. Conforto takes the curveball and it's 3-2. So yet another 3-ball count for Shields, who just looks exasperated with himself.
Well, he's got 4 on the board. The only way you can pitch a good game is to go scoreless the rest of the way, and nothing really is working. His changeup, he's not throwing for strikes, his breaking ball, and he doesn't throw hard enough anymore.
Right at first, nobody out. 3-2 to Conforto. David is running, and Conforto just got a piece of the changeup and fouled it off. So the Mets been a little more aggressive on the bases against Shields. Wright was running during Conforto's at bat first time up and running on a 3-2 pitch there.
And maybe there, Gary, it has something to do with the reduction in strikeouts for Shields this year, down to 6 a game.
Although he did strike out Conforto his first time. Michael trying to snap out of an 0 for 15 skid. Wright not running, and Conforto takes just inside, ball 4. That's a pitch he has struck out on repeatedly over the last few days, but Shields didn't get the call. And so back-to-back walks to start the 3rd inning. First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. First 2 came in on that swing by Yoenis Cespedes, his 10th home run of the season.
We saw it yesterday with Logan Ferret. We saw it now with Shields. These pitchers, right-handed pitchers, who love throwing the changeup down and into the right-hander. You don't make a perfect pitch, it's a home run.
Cespedes now with 29 runs batted in, which leads the National League. Wright and Conforto aboard, nobody out, and Cespedes takes a borderline strike.
Sorry, Ferret was the first night in here.
Last 17 games for Cespedes, 9 home runs, 26 driven in. I mean, that's just like that pace last summer. when he hit 17 home runs in 31 games. Double play ball to Ramirez. The turn by Weeks, and a close play, but they get him at first for the 6-4-3 double play. Right to third with 2 out.
That was a nice turn there. That was not easy. Ball was not hit particularly hard, and Ramirez to one knee with the accurate throw, and Weeks really got something on it to first base.
So 2 out, right at third, and due to the batter. Lucas struck out his first time up. 2-run homer Cespedes in the first, 2-run homer Cologne in the second. Each came with 2 outs. Now Duda up with a man on and 2 outs.
If someone just turned on the TV, that's got to be very funny to them.
I just said that in passing, and what? He said what?
Did they get a new infielder?
They trade for Christian Cologne? No, the actual Bartolo Colon home run event has happened tonight in San Diego. And if you missed it, you'll see it on replay a million times.
Yeah.
We might show it that many just tonight. Good curveball by Shields to get ahead on Duda 1-2.
Well, it's the breaking ball that you hope that Lucas can lay off of, but the Mets hitters in general, this has been really the Achilles heel for this lineup, is that good overhand breaking ball.
One-two coming. Another curve, and it strikes him out. 66 miles an hour. That's dialing it way back for Big Game James. His third strikeout, but it's 4-0 Mets in the third. For the bottom of the third. Here's James Shields' last 66-mile-an-hour curveball.
Last time I saw one this slow was Livan, Hernandez, or El Duque.
Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Guys, I talked to Michael Conforto earlier today about how you approach a guy with a pitch of that nature, and simply put, he said you really almost have to ignore it because he throws it so few times. He only threw it 2 times in his last start, and the way the Mets hitters approach things is if a guy throws a pitch 5% of the time or less, you just eliminate that pitch, especially a slow curve like that, which can really get you out of your rhythm if you pay too much attention to it.
I think what happens for Shields, Gary, I've watched him pitch enough. If he has a bad game, he starts going into makeup mode. He starts making up pitches because he's sick and tired of getting hit with his regular stuff.
Well, I mean, he throws his regular curveball, you know, mid-70s, and You know, it's the same pitch, right? Just dials it back a little. It's lined into center field, and Derek Norris is the first Padre base runner of the night. So Norris, who had 8 straight hits against the Mets, stymied last night, right back to it tonight.
Gary, all you do on a slow curveball is whenever you throw a regular one, you really push off and try to really snap it with a lot of spin. Just don't push off. So you do the whole thing except push off, so it just spins up there.
There's Jamal Weeks, the number 8 hitter. Weeks filling in at second base for the injured Corey Spangenberg.
Well, luckily the Mets are ahead by 4 runs. The sac bunt's not in order.
You're making a joke, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's because Weeks dragged a bunt in the game on Thursday night and got credit for a sacrifice. A very generous official score. Well, we've talked enough about Bart's hitting. Now let's talk about his pitching.
Well, I like that thing, 10 3-pitch strikeouts. When he's got it working, I mean, good morning, afternoon, and good night. 10 times so far this year.
Well, when you're nearly 43, why would you waste a pitch?
Well, one of the things we've seen this year, though, is that he's adding, you see James Shields on deck, he's adding his changeup a little more, his slider a little more, and we saw something that we hadn't seen in a while, the cut fastball that he used against Freddie Freeman in last week's game.
Which was interesting because it's a pitch he had thrown earlier in his career. That's popped up. Cabrera with the angle makes the call. And he's got it for the first out. Cologne said that he'd thrown the cutter earlier in his career when he was with the Angels back in the year he won the Cy Young, but that it hurt his shoulder a little bit, so he backed away from it. But you talked about Shields making up pitches during games. That's kind of what Bart did against the Braves.
Well, I think he felt as though Freeman is such a good hitter that he had to give him a different look as opposed to that ball he throws right at him that comes back over the plate. I used to have a good slider, but I couldn't throw it because it hurt my arm. My shoulder would bark if I used it in a game.
Shields 1 for 10 this year, lifetime 160 hitter, and no hit of a bunt as he takes a strike.
Talking about barking shoulders, Travis d'Arnaud had a little bit of a setback with his.
Yeah, tried to throw for the first time down in Port St. Lucie and had to shut it down. So it's certainly not a great sign. The Mets are hoping that they can try again in a few days. Strained rotator cuff that doesn't sound particularly promising.
You know, the most important position to have your full faculties of your arm is pitching, of course, but the second is catching.
That's hit hard, and Shields has a base hit. Norris pulls in at second, so Shields has his second hit of the year, and the Padres up 2 men on.
Bartolo Colon might be the only pitcher in baseball after giving a hit to the pitcher, opposing pitcher, clapped for him.
Well, because he's 3 bases ahead.
I guess.
I mean, Shields had never given up a home run to an opposing pitcher until Barton took him deep. Bart's given up plenty of hits to plenty of singles to other pitchers. Here's Jay, who flied out to center his first time. It's the best way to start your weekday. Join Suki, Scott, and the Pix 11 News team with breaking news as it happens. Caitlin Monty has up to the minute traffic, and Linda Church with the forecast 5 to 9 on the Pix 11 Morning News, where every story hits home. John Jay, lifetime .330 hitter against the Mets. There's that nice 2-seam fastball by Cologne, and it's 0-2. They had an off year last year, and the Cardinals traded him to the Padres for Jed Jerko. The Cardinals have had a very odd season so far.
They really have.
They won today a walk-off home run by Matt Carpenter to beat the Pirates. And Jay got that off his bat.
What usually happens is when it comes off the bat like that, it hits the catcher on the carom or rebounds. And that's what happened to Kevin. Check swing. And right down on the leg of Plawecki. The Cardinals have there's a lot of things that have happened. Yes, Piscotty's playing nice, their younger player. But Colton Wong should be a star in this game, and he's not. And I don't understand why. Jerko's played a lot in his stead. You know, they had the injury to Peralta early, which put them behind the 8 ball.
The kid at short, Diaz has done a fantastic job filling in.
You know what it is? It's last year they pitched better than anyone else, and that has not happened this year.
And you know, when Wainwright doesn't pitch well, it affects that entire staff.
Yeah. It's hard for him to be a leader of a young staff when you're not going out and producing yourself.
Well, Myers about 10 feet from home plate.
Might as well just get in the box.
How do they let him do that?
I mean, I don't know what happens today on benches or people care at all, but the teams I played on would be screaming at Myers to get in the on-deck circle. I'm talking about screaming.
At least get back on the dirt. I mean, it's crazy where he's standing. Norris at second, Shields at first with 1 out. 1 and 2 to Jay. And he socks one to deep right center. Cespedes back in the gap, takes a look, and it's out of here. John Jay strikes again. A 3-run homer, his first home run of the season. And it cuts the Met lead to a skinny run at 4-3.
Well, John Jay is having some kind of series. A great catch against Granderson in the first game. 3 hits in yesterday's ball game. And here, single-handedly, puts the Padres back in the game.
3-run shot into the surfboards. His first home run matching his total from last year.
John Jay is not a home run hitter, but made like one here. Didn't hang 10, hung 3 though.
Most home runs John Jay's ever hit in a season is 10. That was in his first full year at the big leagues back in 2011. 0-2 to Will Myers. Come on over through that pitch and looks back at his takeoff point. Like catch a spike or something?
Yeah, he just kind of slipped coming off that mound. It is because he tried to overthrow it though.
417 feet on Jay's home run. So hit it a little further than Cologne.
That's a good little slider there by Bartolo.
Fourth home run Bart's allowed this year in 35 innings of work. 2-2 to Myers with Kemp on deck. And that's lifted to shallow right. Here comes Granderson. 2 out.
Well, Myers thought he missed the pitch here. So after the fly out to right field, he ends up throwing the bat right where he was in the on-deck circle. Good for you.
Matt Kemp hit the ball hard his first time up, lined out to David Wright at third. Kemp 1 for 8 in this series.
Cologne has a little bit of a mechanical issue, and you can see him maneuvering his arm around. He's just getting under the baseball. His stride is a little too long now. That's why the ball has flattened out. That's better, although did not get the call.
Three infielders on the left side against Kemp, and the off-speed pitch is popped up, and that'll go out of play.
When you watch Bart's delivery, one of the keys when I watch him throw is that sometimes his backside sits too low. And when he strides, see how that ball comes out of his hand? Instead of sinking top to bottom, it runs from side to side.
It's a great call, Ron. Two 2-1 to Kemp. That was foul.
One of the things you like to see is you see the release point of Bartolo. Unlike a lot of the Mets pitchers, see his front leg? It's bent. When you land on a bent leg, that allows you to get in a good fielding position. That's something I had to learn early in my career.
Good slider to strike out Kemp. And so Cologne has his second strikeout, but not before the Padres get a 3-run homer from John Jay to cut the lead to 1. Modell, Shop Modell Sporting Goods, your fan gear headquarters. Come on, Met fans, you got to go to Moe's. Yes, it did. Been quite a bit of escalation so far here tonight.
I want to ask what the hashtag is, but it might be something improper. So
I think LGM is Let's Go Mets.
Sorry. I mean, that is so obvious. What's wrong with me?
You know, it's a good thing that you were cautious about it, because you never know.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of where it's going, so I don't want to. We already had one incident here early on in our first year. I don't want to double up.
Oh, San Diego. Stay classy.
That's one of our top 10. That's on the top 10 by far.
Walker fly deep to left his first time up, and he grounds one down to first. Myers snatches it and makes the play, 1 out.
Well, you see the innings last year.
Those are the top 5 in the majors in innings pitched, and how they've done so far this season.
The elite in baseball. The only one really, sorry, 2. I'm including Scherzer. Scherzer got blown out yesterday, so his ERA is inflated.
4 home runs yesterday.
Both Keuchel and Greinke have not pitched well so far.
Greinke won last night, pitched a little bit better, but has not gotten off to a good start. Maybe it's the uniform.
No, it's not the uniforms. It's that big horse that he was pitching behind isn't there anymore. He's the #1 dude.
You think that makes a big difference?
Huge. He is a very shy guy by nature, doesn't want to be put in the spotlight, and behind Kershaw's shadow, it was easy for him to do his deal.
Well, here's what I would suggest for anybody who doesn't want to be in the spotlight: don't sign a $200 million contract.
You don't.
It's a little hard to hide once you've done that.
You don't like to be in the spotlight. You certainly would have signed the $200 million deal.
That's drilled to right field.
And it'll be one hop up against the wall for Asdrubal Cabrera. Kemp was playing well over in right center field and was nowhere near that ball, and Cabrera pulls in with a one-out double. 7th double of the year for Asdrubal.
It's funny, Shields was looking at Kemp like, where were you playing, by the way? But a hanging curveball, as we've seen from Cabrera, because they do not shift on him very much in the infield, he hits the ball from coast to coast. He puts it where it's pitched better than most of the left-handed hitters for the Mets. I know he's a switch hitter, but from the left side.
So with a runner at second and one out, Kevin Plawecki, who picked up his first extra base hit of the season, which was a big moment for him, and then it got outshone a moment later.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, first extra base hit of the season is nice. Bartolo Colon hitting a home run. That's explosive. And Cologne looms on deck. Grounded to short. Ramirez on the backhand. And he gets Plawecki. Cabrera has to hold, 2 out. And here comes Martin. What can he do for an encore? This is Who's Hot, brought to you by Geico.
That's funny.
He is hot. We still are trying to figure out if he's the oldest player ever to hit his first big league home run, but he's the second oldest Met ever to hit a home run. Only Julio Franco was older. Franco, I think, was the oldest player in Major League history ever to hit a home run.
What's wrong with Waterman and the gang? It's a Saturday night, or are they out hanging out, or what?
Taking all the way. He did this his first at bat, by the way. He took all the way on the first 2 pitches and then attacked the third one and hit it out of the ballpark.
No, he's going to swing hard at some point. You just don't know when it's going to come.
He decides long before the pitch is thrown whether he's going to swing or not. And this was the time, and he got a curveball. And now it's 1-2.
That's what happens when you hit a home run. They start to pitch you tough.
First hack bounce of the night. And Shields gets a small measure of revenge. Big Bart has gone down. 4-3 Mets in the 4th.
His first hit of the year. He drives one deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened.
Impossible indeed. One of the great moments you will ever see. Now Bart has to try and make it stand up. That home run off his bat gave him a 4-0 lead. Now it's 4-3 after John Jay answered with a 3-run homer of his own. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Brett Wallace leads off for San Diego. Wallace grounded one to the right side his first time up. Wallace, Upton, and Ramirez against Cologne.
Gary, I have been texted by a lot of my friends that are Mets fans, and they are ecstatic about your call. I mean, it was so heartfelt anyways, because very few home runs I've seen you stand up before. And it brought you to your feet, and a lot of my friends really appreciate hearing your Cologne call.
Well, that's nice, but he did it. I mean, whoever thought that was even in the cards?
Yeah, I mean, when he first came to the Mets, there was no way it was in the cards because he barely could make contact.
Right.
But he has, I mean,
he's worked hard.
He's worked hard to become someone that can get the bunt down, that can make a little contact, and he's gotten a little better every year.
He had 8 hits last year, which doubled his previous high. And he walks Wallace to start the 4th. A very rare walk for Cologne. Only his 4th this year in 35 innings.
Must be like DNA, because Harry had a tight strike zone, and his son Hunter does too.
Lowest walk rate among pitchers with at least 50 starts for a team since 1920, the live ball era. 1.2 walks per 9 as a Met. Upton takes a strike.
Well, what makes his more remarkable is that he's not a guy that throws the ball straight to corners. He has to manufacture movement, so he has control of movement within the strike zone and doesn't walk people. To me, that's remarkable.
Upton hits one in the air to deep left center. Conforto goes back onto the warning track. He's got room, and he makes the catch a step from the wall. So Melvin Upton making a bid, comes up just shy. 1 long out.
Well, this has really been what it's been like for Bart, is that early in a game he has struggled, and as he kind of finds the strike zone, he gets better and better. But that ball was kind of like just a meatball right there for Upton, and Upton just missed it.
When you talk about Cologne getting movement and throwing strikes at the same time, I mean, the guy that always comes to mind in my experience is Greg Maddux.
Yes, he was the best. He was the best at it. When I first came up, Gary, I had incredible movement. It was my strength. Was everything I threw was not straight, but I couldn't control the movement, so I ended up out of the strike zone a lot, behind hitters a lot, and of course led the league in walks one year.
Ramirez pops one up. Cabrera trying to get there, and he runs it down. Great play by Asdrubal. I didn't think there was any chance he was going to get to that ball, and he made a very difficult play and look easy.
Every game we're talking about Cabrera's defense, and to be able to get all the way over there and make that play running away made it look easy.
A little breeze might have helped that a little bit, blow the ball back to him. Nonetheless, that was spectacular.
All the Terry Collins scouts are very red-faced now this year so far.
2 out, Wallace still at first. Here's Derek Norris, who had the first hit against Cologne, a single to center in the 3rd, and then scored in front of Jay's home run. Norris on that play at the plate last night hurt his hip.
Yep.
And stayed in the game and is back in there again today, but he got a lot of medical attention.
one of the fans wants to give him a little bit. Nice. That's great.
Padres fan was just congratulating him on a nice play.
I love ball players who look like they enjoy playing the game. He's one of them.
Norris pops one up in the middle of the infield. And who's going to get it? It's Cabrera taking charge at the last moment to make sure and end the inning. A leadoff walk. Cologne works around that after 4-3 New York. Go 4-3 New York. James Shields gave up 2-run homers to Yoenis Cespedes and yes, Bartolo Colon worked around jams in the 3rd and 4th inning, and now third time through the batting order. Curtis Granderson will lead off. 73 pitches through 4 for Shields. The Mets have run up a pitch count against yet another starting pitcher. Granderson takes a strike. Curtis 0 for 2 tonight. Flied out, grounded out. Just 2 for his last 25 now. His odd streak of reaching base in 37 straight road games is on the line.
Well, he's 8 for 66 now in his career against Big Game James.
So you're saying you might need to get into the bullpen to extend that streak. Does have 2 home runs against Shields in those 66 at bats. Grounds the changeup foul, and it's 1-2. Granderson right and Conforto for the Mets in the 5th. Mets have scored 7 runs in this series on 4 home runs. They have scored in no other way. And that percentage just keeps growing.
Yeah, right.
Runs scored via the home run. Curveball strikes out Granderson. That's 5 strikeouts now for Shields. 1 down in the 5th. Well, the San Diego rotation has been doing an awfully good job, particularly lately.
We saw Colin Ray take a no-hitter. Drew Pomeranz, 5 strong innings. Castner's a guy that they expect to be a star at some point. He's not been there. Shields, great history of pitching in this league, and Vargas we have not seen. I have not seen a pitch.
He just came up when Robbie Erlin went down.
Right.
He's going to have Tommy John surgery, so Vargas a recent addition. David Wright's been up twice, walked both times. David's now drawn 5 walks in 3 games in this series. That's 21 walks for the season now for David. His walk rate is way up, and so his on-base percentage, despite the lower batting average, is terrific at .389. Which, you know, as long as he's going to be in that 2 spot of the batting order is probably a good thing.
I said it before, you know, because of some of the issues that David has, maybe he's not the home run hitter that you wanted him to be, but there's no reason, if he plays enough, to be a 40 double guy.
And him too.
Yeah.
2-2 to right. Conforto's tied for the league lead in doubles already this year.
Well, he's a doubles machine, and as he gets stronger, he'll hit the ball at the ballpark. Similar to Donnie Mattingly when he first started. He was more of a, great average doubles hitter, and then learned how to pull it.
Shields runs another full count against Wright. He's walked his first 2 trips. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts for Shields. Up over 80 pitches now. 3-2 coming, and he misses way inside. So Shields misses badly and walks Wright for the 3rd time. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Royal Caribbean. This is more than just a cruise. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. So 4 walks now for Shields. A 1-out base runner. Mets have had runners in every inning. And Conforto, who has struck out and walked tonight, 0 for 1. Is down to Conforto. One of the teams with the 2 best records in the National League are slugging it out in Chicago, and it's been all Cubs so far. They've won the first 3 of that 4-game series from the Nationals. Outscored them 8-5 today, after winning 8-6 yesterday.
Well, it's pretty simple what has happened to Conforto is that at first they pitched to him because Cespedes is on deck, and they went after him. But after he got red hot, they started to pitch him very tough, and he started to swing at balls out of the strike zone, like any hitter. Once you start doing that, your average will go down.
And he chases the curveball, 1-2.
His back leg goes for Shields on that curveball.
1-2 to Conforto with Cespedes on deck, and that curveball gets him. Dialed it back to 69 that time. So Shields, with the Bugs Bunny curve, has his 6th strikeout. And the Mets continue to fall prey to pitchers with good curveball.
Well, I explained it, not explained it. I asked Keith the other day, and he just dismissed it. But, he had the game against Bumgarner, which was an important game to start working in facing those tough left-handers, and he hasn't been the same hitter since that game.
For his last 16 now, starting with that game against Bumgarner last Sunday. So here's Cespedes, who drilled a 2-run homer his first time up tonight, his 10th of the year, bounced into a double play in the 3rd. Right at first and 2 out.
I mean, the positions that Shields will get in with that big leg kick and a leg up in the air.
Yoga pose?
Oh, yeah, yoga pose.
Cut by Cespedes. 1-1. We were talking about the Cubs winning the first 3 from the Nats. They're now 23-6. Best record to start a season in the National League since the '77 Dodgers.
Yeah, like 1907 as a franchise, they had one of their best starts. They won the World Series that year in '07?
They did, 07 and 08. And none since. It's only been 108 years. Of course, the best start ever was the '84 Tigers.
That's right.
35-5.
35-5.
Cespedes pops one up, shallow right. Can Kemp get there in time? He does. Side retired. Nobody was playing on the right side of the infield, so it was all on Kemp. Halfway through, 4-3 New York.
Bottom of the fifth, Mets on top of the Padres 4-3, and time to go a little further inside baseball. The guys were speaking about the Cubs in the last half inning, beating the Washington Nationals again today, now 3 in a row. And by the way, they've got Jake Arrieta on the mound tomorrow. Could be a clean sweep, but the numbers are starting to get a little crazy. Plus 101 is their run differential. That is the second highest of any team through 29 games since 1900. You also have to look at how they're winning these games. Goes hand in hand with run differential, but 16 times they've won by 4 or more runs. There are 17 teams in baseball who don't even have 16 wins, so the Cubs may be exceeding expectations to this point.
Well, they are certainly hitting on all cylinders right now. Even without Kyle Schwarber, their offense has been tremendous. They're getting great pitching.
Schwarber's a very, very good young hitter, but he did present some defensive difficulties for them being in the lineup every day. Now, Jorge Soler's not a Gold Glove. Fowler's been great.
Yeah, Fowler, I think, has been a huge key. Strike 3 call. Cologne gets Jamal Weeks for his 3rd strikeout. I mean, Fowler was a guy they didn't want back, and he was supposed to go to Baltimore. That didn't work out, and it's almost like the Cubs reluctantly took him back after he had a great year last year, and he's been even better this year.
I mean, he was a natural to have back, because if you didn't bring him back, then you had to play Hayward in center field, and Hayward doesn't is not the same player in center field.
Well, he loses some of that great value that he has as the best right fielder in the game.
Exactly.
There's Shields, and he takes a strike. By the way, we have heard from the Elias Sports Bureau. They have confirmed that Bartolo Colon tonight became the oldest player in Major League history to hit his first big league home run, and it was by a fairly wide margin. Over the mound and behind the bag, it'll go through for a base hit, and Shields is 2 for 2. And to think there are people who want the DH in the National League.
Yeah, right.
So the tying run aboard for the Padres.
Well, just like the replay, I thought it took, I think it took Bob and the gang a little too long, Gary.
So Bart is 17 days shy of his 43rd birthday. The record had belonged to Randy Johnson, who hit the only home run of his Major League career 9 days past his 40th birthday. So Bart is almost 3 years older than Randy Johnson was when he hit his first home run. John Jay hits one out to center field. This one will be playable for Cespedes. And that's the 2nd out. So Jay, who slugged a 3-run homer his last time up, A little less distance on this one. There are 2 out.
Well, that's cool. Then record books for Mr. Cologne. So the bat, spikes, other things could maybe go to the Hall of Fame.
So think about this. The Mets have the oldest player in history to hit a home run.
Julio Franco.
And the oldest player in history to hit his first big league home run.
Boy,
and it's 2 different guys, which makes it even better.
We go for the old.
It's only keeping us in business. Will Myers is 0 for 2.
Yeah, we're a little long in the tooth up here, too.
We'll feel very much like spring chickens the next few days when we go to L.A. and get to say hello to Mr. Scully, who is in his final season behind the microphone.
One of the joys of this job, folks, is that whenever we go to Dodger Stadium, Mr. Scully, and he makes me call him Vinny, but I still call him Mr. Scully. He'd call me in and talk about the Mets. How are the Mets doing? It's just one of the great gentlemen of all time.
Myers bangs one off his leg, and it's 1-2. Well, baseball will be the poorer for Vin Scully's exit from the game, but it is that much richer for him having spent the last 6.5 decades calling Dodger games.
I mean, what are Dodger fans to do? I mean, you know, generations and generations of folks have listened to that wonderful voice.
Strike 3 called, so Myers is caught looking on a letter high fastball, and Cologne has his 4th strikeout. We're through 5. Over above and beyond, all you have to do is look at the last line.
Yeah, palindromic 2-1-1-2 for Cologne.
That line will live forever. And over on the right side, Cologne parentheses 1. It was nothing. You are merely mortal. I am Senor Cologne.
That's right.
All those folks were almost in the ballpark to see it. Behind the beach.
More people out there today, huh, than there has been the first 2 days.
Well, the stands are packed also tonight.
Love it.
So, you know, Bart got as full an audience as he could have had. Also, it wasn't a 10:30 New York time start, so everybody back in New York got to see it.
So 5:30 Saturday start's a good start here in San Diego.
Yes, people like it. Guess you're not the only one. 2-0 to Duda leading off the 6th inning. Lucas been up twice, struck out both times, 0 for 9 in this series. Facing Shields, who's up over 90 pitches for the night. And that misses low, 3-0. So the question is, did the 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern time start work in Keith's wheelhouse to be able to see it live?
That's drilled down the right field line, and Duda's got an extra base hit. Swinging on 3-0.
Don't see that very often from Lucas, but after going 0 for 9 in the series, he notches his 4th double of the year.
Well, I like to see that. You know, 3-0, you're going to get a fastball, and he didn't miss it. Bullet to right field from Lucas. So does it work in Keith's favor? I'm not sure, because you know the American Hotel and other establishments, that's primetime dinner time.
Well, Keith promised to keep us up to date on his week, so he gave us a little photo journal of what he's been doing while he's been off. That's his biographer. Only Keith has a biographer.
Like all day.
It's his trainer.
As a trainer, Ricky D.
Looks like Keith's working hard, but it looks like the trainer's working harder. Trainer's sweating more than Keith is. That's not right. What else has Keith been up to? Oh, there he is, hard at work.
Very
with
nice.
The short shorts.
That's one of my least favorite things to do.
And that is the famous Haji back in her run. Is it her or is it him or her, Haji?
I have no idea.
That'll advance the runner. Myers makes the play on Walker. Duda over to third, 1 out. So that's a little of Keith's respite so far.
Well, he said because of the dealing with the memoir,
right,
and then the working out and the playing with Haji, he was a little too tired to attend the art exhibition in the Hamptons. It's a very important affair.
So does that make it more likely that he's watching the game tonight?
I would say no.
Okay. Infield in for Cabrera, who's 1 for 2, and has dribbled with a wild cut of the curveball, nothing in 1.
Well, none of those pictures though showed him knee deep in the water that's in his basement. He said he was going to go down there and get everything off the floor and clean it up. It was a 3-day project. Well, he's got 8 more days.
Do you really think he's going to do that himself as opposed to calling someone?
He confesses that he's going to.
I'd like the photographic evidence if indeed that happens.
So we've seen Keith now. He has his own memoir writer. He has his own trainer. One time at the game, he had his friend who serves as his bartender, so he has his own bartender. He's got like everybody for just about anything.
Full crew. Infield in, 1-1 to Cabrera, and 3 curveballs in a row from Shields, 2-1. Got the number 8 hitter Plawecki on deck. Shields right at 100 pitches for the night. The Padre bullpen getting busy. Duda on third, so it takes a pretty good fly ball to get him home. And another curveball, 3-1.
It's almost like he's pitching around Cabrera. Plawecki is a double play threat for him, you know?
Yep. Cabrera 3 for 5 this year, getting a runner in from third with less than 2 out.
So he's going to go to the changeup after all those curveballs. See if he can get him to roll it over.
And he lays off, but he gets a borderline strike, 3-2.
This is where, as a pitcher, you painted yourself into a corner. It's 3-2. You want to get Cabrera out, but you really want him to swing at something out of the strike zone.
3-2 coming, and a curveball strikes him out. So Shields wins the battle. Comes from behind to get Cabrera for his 7th strikeout, and now they're at 2 out.
You know, that's where you tip your cap. That was excellent pitching. With the base open, he knew that he was going to go after him with the slow stuff. and that might have been his best curveball all night.
So now Shields with a chance to get through the inning. Let's see if they pitch to Plawecki or walk him and go after Cologne.
That's pretty funny.
And they will walk him. Well, so Cologne, whose 2-run homer is the difference in this game right now, will get a chance to add to his lead. So Andy Green's got a right-hander up in the bullpen. I can't believe he'll make a pitching change with Cologne coming up, but we'll see.
One of the things when you're a pitcher is that you want to kind of look where you're throwing, but Shields has always had this move that he jerks his head to the side before he throws a pitch. Jeremy Guthrie, another pitcher, was a guy that used to do that also.
But the lefty with the Red Sox, Okajima, used to look down.
That's right. There you go.
The plate. So here is Cologne, who hit the 2-run homer in the second. It broke the internet and then struck out in the fourth. Duda at third, Plawecki at first. And Bart takes a curveball for a strike. You may not see another fastball for a while. And another curveball, and Cologne swings over that, and it's 0-2.
Well, I guess all that's left now, and it won't happen here, is the bunt base hit at some point for Cologne.
You never know. And he goes down on 3 pitches to end the inning. So the Mets waste a leadoff double from Duda. 8 strikeouts for Shields, still 4-3 New York.
Moment in this game. It was unbelievable. To be the last guy standing out there with Ted Williams as he threw out the first pitch was the best. And I hope that 20 years from now somebody will be talking about me in the same vein as I'm talking about Ted Williams.
The words of Tony Gwynn recalling that indelible moment at the All-Star game at Fenway Park in 1999.
It was an honor to compete against number 19. A great person, a great player on the field, a better person off the field.
And the great thing about that moment with Ted Williams is those are the 2 greatest athletes that San Diego's ever produced. Right?
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I mean, Ted was from here as well as Tony.
Bill Walton from here?
He might be in the conversation.
Okay. At least the college years.
Matt Kemp takes a big cut as we start the bottom of the 6th. Kemp is lined to third and struck out 0 for 2.
Gwynn, 19 straight years of hitting over 300. And of course, the splendid Splinter, 406 in 1941.
Last man to do it. And Gwynn with George Brett came the closest.
Well, George at 390, right?
Gwynn at 388.
388, and that was in the short season of 94, right?
I think in 94 he might have been over 390.
Yeah.
Up the middle, but that's where Walker's playing. Perfectly shifted to retire Kemp. 1 away. Well, the pride of San Diego, Ted Williams, who not only hit 521 home runs in his career, but lost 5 years to military service.
Yeah, fighter pilot, was described as just uniquely talented as a fighter pilot, as well as how talented he was as a hitter. He was like his baseball's John Wayne. I mean, really was.
There's Brett Wallace, who pulls one down to first. Duda's got it. 2 out. So Bartolo Colon, who despite giving up the 3-run homer to Jay, has worked to a very low pitch count tonight. Remember, he got deep into the game last time out against Atlanta through 8 scoreless innings, only 99 pitches. Ryan Buchter, Brad Hand, 2 lefties up in the bullpen for San Diego.
It's interesting. I guess one if the game were to be tied by San Diego, one if the score remains the same.
Well, Cespedes probably wouldn't mind facing Hand again after he took him deep the other night. Here's Upton, who's 0 for 2, just missed one his last time up. Flied out to deep left field.
The Padres have come out here the whole series, Gary, and have been first pitch swinging, very aggressive. And against a guy like Cologne, you end up with a lot of early outs.
1-1 to Upton. We mentioned the Cubs winning today. The White Sox won as well. They're 21-10, and Chris Sale has 7 of their wins.
7-0.
7-0. Beat the Twins today. 1.79 ERA.
Well, last year he had a really fine season going. They just weren't scoring any runs, so his record didn't reflect it. But this year, everything going Chris's way. Nastiest pitcher maybe in all of baseball.
Upton takes a strike, and it's 2-2.
There's a rumor that one of the hitting coaches from one of the teams in the American League Central refused to have a meeting before they faced Sale. He said, I honestly don't know what to tell you. Just go out there and hopefully do whatever you can.
And how'd it go?
7-0.
Yeah. Right. Upton drives one to center, but Cespedes comes on, can't get to it, and has to play it on the hop. Uenis wasn't quite sure whether he could get to that ball, and kind of got caught in between and played on a bounce.
Well, one of the few sliders from Cologne that stayed more in the middle, and good hitting from Upton Jr.
That's the 5th hit against Cologne.
Cespedes plays 3, 4, 5 steps deeper than Lagares.
Well, Lagares goes back on the ball so much better, so that makes sense. There's Ramirez, who's 0 for 2. Tying run at first, and Upton dives back.
Cologne has a really quick move to first base. It's negated because Lucas plays in front of the bag, so he has to reach back to make the tag. See his right foot? That's great for getting off the bag. Not very good for tagging, because the tag ends up where? On his calf, not his hand where it should be.
Well, it's very hard to run against Bart because he's fast to the plate. Opposing base stealers only 1 steal in 4 tries this year. Upton carrying the tying run. He's got 6 steals this year. And Cologne will make sure that he's aware that he knows he's there.
He's got incredibly quick feet. That's what you have to have. 2 things you have to have a good pickoff move: quick feet and an accurate throw. Those 2 can get you some pickoffs.
DeGrom and Cologne do a great job controlling the running game. Matz is a lefty, so he's got an advantage there.
He will be better because he'll just work on his move.
Syndergaard's issues have been well documented, but I thought he did a much better job last night, even though he gave up a couple of steals.
Well, I saw his times today. I read they were between 1.3 and 1.35, so his times were improved. It didn't hurt that Rene Rivera was behind the plate throwing bullets.
1-1 to Ramirez, and Upton has to do a little more diving back in.
Upton might be the only guy who's dives back to first base. That's the 3rd time. Those are the feet. It's a hop and a complete turn, and Upton stood in the bag 3 times, and his uniform is not dirty. I don't know how he does it.
It's very nimble with his hands. Ramirez just gets under one to left field. Conforto waiting for it to come down, and that retires the side. So Cologne gets through the 6th with the lead. On to the 7th we go. 4-3 New York. Back of the ballpark. They moved the beach back from the outfield fence to protect the kids.
So they make the kids take off their shoes in the sand? There's kids in there in the socks. The other ones are barefooted. No, looks like someone has their shoes on.
Mets Health Report brought to you by Affinity Health Plan, serving the needs of New Yorkers for over 30 years. Josh Edgin coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's out on rehab. His 30 days are going to run out soon, and in all likelihood, John Ricco, the Mets assistant GM, today said he will be sent down on option to Vegas because there just isn't a spot in the bullpen.
Well, their
right
bullpen's been good. Why change a thing? Brad Hand was one of the left-handers that was warming up. He's in here now that the Padres trail by a run.
Curtis Granderson up for the 4th time. Goes around in the half swing. So Shields threw 110 pitches over 6 innings, gave up 4 runs, 5 hits, 5 walks, 1 intentional, 8 strikeouts, 2 home runs. He was in trouble in every inning, but was able to emerge after giving up the 2 2-run homers early in the game. But he also James Shields did, forever enmeshed himself in an historic moment.
Yeah, he's the answer to the trivia question that we'll have, I'm sure, on the show at some point.
He is
20 years from now.
He is to Bartolo Colon what Al Downing was to Hank Aaron, the guy who will always be in the video.
You'll always know it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, on a different scale, but yes.
Well, a whole different, almost like a whole different game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 1 as opposed to number 715. 2-2 to Granderson. Hey, how about the performance of the night? Aaron Hill of the Milwaukee Brewers homered in the 6th, homered in the 8th to tie it, and just hit a grand slam in the 10th to put Milwaukee in front of Cincinnati.
Good for him.
So 3 home runs, including a grand slam for Aaron Hill. And the Cincinnati bullpen is back to its old ways. Good breaking ball by hand to strike out Granderson. 1 away. Infinity brings you the National League scoreboard. 2-run homer for Matt Carpenter in the bottom of the 9th as the Cardinals beat the Pirates. Matt Duffy's RBI double in the bottom of the 13th lifted the Giants past the Rockies. We mentioned the Cubs win. Addison Russell had the big hit in that game. That game in Atlanta just final. Diamondbacks beat the Braves. I mentioned Aaron Hill 3 home runs, and the Phillies rallied to beat the Marlins. Just the 2nd loss in the last 13 games for Miami. David Wright has walked all 3 times up tonight. First pitch attack and into center field for a base hit. So David Wright on base for the 4th straight time.
Throw it and duck. Pull it up the middle on a little sinking fastball from Hand. Toe tap. Thunder.
David's undoubtedly going to get a day off tomorrow after playing 3 straight games out here. So he's stuffing his kip, as Keith would say. On base 4 times tonight. Conforto 0 for 2 and a walk tonight, has struck out twice. Michael trying to snap an 0 for 16 stretch. Faced Hand on Thursday night and flied out to center field. Yoenis Cespedes on deck. He homered against Hand in that game in the 9th inning on Thursday.
So does Conforto get this bat and you make defensive changes with a 1-run lead, or?
It's the way Terry usually plays it. There goes Wright. Conforto takes a strike, throwing from his knees. Norris too late to get Wright, who has his 3rd stolen base of the year. David's been frisky on the bases all night.
Yeah, he has. I mean, not a cardinal sin, but the closest thing. If you're a left-handed pitcher and you give up a running lead to David, that's what he had. I mean, he just went, and Hand never ever checked him.
It looked like it shocked Norris, who had to throw from his knees. So a runner in scoring position. Mets trying desperately to score a run without a home run. Conforto pops one up. Upton coming in to call. And that's the 2nd out.
Hand has an unusual delivery. He's got to be an awfully strong young athlete because he doesn't use his legs, lower half. He kind of just uses his arm, upper half, recoils on that straight front leg. Boy, if he ever employed his lower half, he'd throw 5 miles an hour quicker.
No brainer here. They'll walk Cespedes with first base open to pitch to Duda. Cespedes, who had a 2-run homer back in the 1st inning. This will be the 2nd intentional walk ordered by Andy Green tonight. So Duda will get a chance against the lefty with a couple of men on. Mets hit 2-run homers in the 1st and 2nd inning. In the 3rd, they got the first 2 men on, didn't score. In the 4th, they got a 1-out double from Cabrera, didn't score. In the 6th, a leadoff double from Duda got him to 3rd with 1 out and didn't score. And now they've got 2 men on in the 7th. And there's ball 4 to Cespedes. Final game of this series tomorrow afternoon. Matt Harvey makes the start for the Mets. Andrew Cashner for the Padres. And they'll be right back here on Pix 11. 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. So here is Duda, who swung at a 3-0 pitch and drilled a double down the right field line his last time up, his first hit in this series.
And went after Granderson with almost entirely all breaking balls. So if you were Duda, you have to be watching that and expect that it's probably the pitch you're going to get.
It's been a rough go for Lucas against lefties so far this year, just 1 for 17. After watching through Pomerantz last night, yet another lefty starter successful against the Mets. Elias pointed out that while the Mets have not hit lefty starters well, 193 coming into the night, they have hit lefty relievers well, 290 as a team with 7 home runs. And Duda trying to join that parade. Tries to lay off and stopped it in time, 1-1.
So a journeyman left-hander they can handle out of the bullpen. The elite starters they can't, or haven't yet.
Trey Blevins up in the Mets bullpen. Cologne only at 78 pitches through 6 innings. But he got to run around the bases too. Well run. Good slider by hand, 1-2.
That was a good swing by Lucas. He was right on that, just missed it. Breaking ball, outside part, just pulled off it just a little bit. Love to see him, if he continues that breaking ball, try to somehow work that ball to left field.
One-two from Hand, and Duda pokes one foul. Just got a piece of that slider to hang in there. Neil Walker would be next. Right at second, Cespedes at first with 2 out. 1-2 coming to Duda. And did he hold the swing? He did. Another slider from Hand, 2-2.
Yeah, I think he held it back. He's so strong that almost any other hitter would have been called for that, but he was able to hold it back. What he'll probably get here, maybe a 2-2 fastball where he tries to paint him away, and then back with the breaking ball 3-2 if he gets there. Let's see if he...
Fouled away.
Sorry, I was wrong, Barry. Another breaking ball. Sorry to jump on you there.
Lucas, they're chanting your name. 2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Duda. On the corner, strike 3 called after all those sliders and through the fastball and froze Duda to end the inning. And the Mets strand 2 more. 7th inning stretch time in San Diego, 4-3 New York. Home 7th inning. Bartolo Colon faces the lower third of the Padres batting order. Derek Norris, who's 1 for 2 tonight, takes the first pitch outside for ball 1. Norris Weeks in the pitcher's spot, due up for San Diego. Mets have had oodles of chances to add to their lead, but they've gone 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. That's lined the other way. Another base hit for Norris. What is it about this guy? The Mets just can't get him out.
I mean, he's batting a 168 on the season. Horses for courses, right? Just feels comfortable against this Mets staff. The ball is supposed to be in, is more in the middle.
So the tying run aboard. We'll see what they do with Jamal Weeks. They'll get a pinch hitter on deck, Jabari Blash. So Mets have to be conscious of the bunt in this spot. Weeks has popped up and struck out 0 for 2. And the run and bunt is on. The bunt is down. The throw to first, and Weeks fell down, and Cologne tags him. Weeks is hurt. It was going to be hard for the Mets to get him out, and then Weeks went down hard before he could get to first base. It's the third time in the last week we've seen a run and bunt play, but of more import here is the injury to Weeks.
Perfectly placed. He would have beat this out at first base because no one was going to get there. Oh, and he just pulled his right hamstring.
So Weeks, who was in the lineup because of the injury to Spangenberg, also a leg injury, and now he comes out of the game, and that did not look good at all.
That's a shame.
So it goes as a sacrifice for Weeks, a legitimate sacrifice, one unassisted.
Watch his right hamstring, right there, and straight down.
What a shame.
That is a shame, boy.
So Jabari Blash will be the pinch hitter with the tying run at second and 1 out. And Blash takes a fastball for a strike. Blash pinch hit last night and struck out against Noah Syndergaard.
What's our score there? 3U, huh?
1U.
Sorry, 1U.
Cologne quickly ahead on Blash, 0-2.
Norris is not a fast runner despite him running on the run and bunt. But the Mets outfielders are playing extremely deep because this young man has plenty of power.
And the Mets did not make their usual defensive switch in the outfield.
I thought that was a mistake. Now, for you people at home, the thinking might be, okay, it's a 1-run game. What happens if we go extra innings? I've got one of my best hitters out of the lineup for the rest of the game.
But Conforto's still in there in left, and Cespedes in center. Lagares still in the dugout. 0-2 to Blash with 1 out. Popped it up. Duda coming over, hoping. No hope.
You know, the reason you make that defensive change is because you give yourself on a base hit 2 out of 3 chances of throwing the guy out at home. Both Cespedes and Lagares.
In-game box score brought to you by Land Rover Above and Beyond. One big swing of the bat by John Jay, a 3-run homer in the 3rd inning, producing the 3 San Diego runs.
I have to say that this is probably Bartolo's last hitter. I don't know if you let him face Jay again.
0-2 to Blash. A little bit high. And the Mets have had Jerry Blevins ready in the bullpen with the left-hand hitter on deck. Jim Henderson up alongside him. The pitch count is low. It's a cool night for Cologne, but he's had some base runners to deal with the last 4 innings.
And it's percentages. You know, you're talking about a guy who's had 2 good at-bats. He'll just miss the other one he hit to center field.
So Blevins struck Jay out last night. First it's Blash, 1-2 coming on the outside corner, strike 3 call. Strikeout number 5 for Cologne, and you're right, Ronnie, that's going to be all for Bart.
Yeah.
Terry Collins on his way to the mound.
They can't swing at it. He starts at 6 inches off the plate, controls the movement of that two-seamer, and it comes back right over that outside corner. Home plate umpire Hunter Wendelstadt stays with it.
On a night Bartolo Colon and every Met fan will remember forever. Bart is out of the game after 6 2/3. The highlight of his night, one incredible swing of the bat. Now he's hoping he gets a win to go with it. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Cologne out, Blevins in. We'll be right back. Jerry Blevins comes in with a tying run at second to face John Jay. And a first pitch curveball in for a strike.
Nice choice by Blevins. Jay loves to jump all over that first pitch, especially against the left-handed matchup. Those are the numbers for Jerry, who's in here for this one batter.
Battery struck out last night in the 8th inning. Jay 5 for 11 in this series, including a 3-run homer today. Blevins quickly ahead 0-2.
2 good strikes there. And it's the 3rd inning, the home run. Fastball up. And then his next at bat, he just missed hitting one off Bartolo. So good move by Terry, bringing in Blevins.
First home run of the year for Jay, who hit only 1 last year. Now Blevins ahead of him 0-2. Norris at second and 2 out. Curveball, he holds the swing, and Plawecki knocks it down. 1-2. Led off the inning with a base hit. He's at second with 2 out. 1-2 from Blevins to Jay. Curveball struck him out. For the 2nd straight night, Blevins strikes out Jay, and the tying run is stranded at second. Blevins does his job after 7, 4-3 New York. try this.
Well, the ball starts, if you're a left-handed hitter, behind you. It literally starts behind your head. And then it has so much break on it, it ends up off the plate away. It's simply just what you want to have in a left-handed specialty reliever. A guy who can throw curveballs for strikes, and when he gets ahead, can throw it off the strike zone. Villanueva had a great year last year with the Cardinals. ERA under 3.
Well traveled, used to be a starter in Milwaukee and Toronto. Went to the Cubs for a couple of years. There's Adam Rosales. He'll play second base with Jamal Weeks having left with an apparent hamstring injury. Neil Walker, first pitch swinging, flies one out to right, and Matt Kemp grabs it. 1 pitch and 1 out for Villanueva in the 8th. And Walker now 0 for his last 18.
You know, when you are on time, which Neil was for such a long time, that ball would have been in the cheap seats. But he's missing them right now, and it happens.
Now it's Drupal Cabrera, who's 1 for 3, doubled back in the 4th. But Shields got maybe his biggest out against Cabrera in the 6th. Runner at 3rd and 1 out, and he struck Cabrera out with a curveball. Villanueva misses with a sinker for ball 1.
Villanueva is one of those right-handed relief pitchers that fungible is the word you use. They can move from team to team. You know what you're going to get. A guy who doesn't throw really hard but can throw his breaking pitches for strikes.
Here's a knee-high strike to Cabrera. If you're keeping a scorecard, do they keep a scorecard anymore?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, some people do. For some reason, Andy Green has flipped the 2 guys he just brought in. So the pitcher's going to bat 8th, and Rosales will bat 9th. Which means the pitcher's spot will come up before Rosales' spot.
That's odd. If I were a first-year manager with no experience, I would have an elder statesman to my right at all times.
Cabrera strikes out on a curveball for the 2nd straight at bat. Now there are 2 out. Around the majors, brought to you by Bullmore Lanes. Nobody throws a party like Bullmore. Clayton Kershaw kept on rolling this afternoon. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts. He's 4-1. Dodgers beat Toronto. Jock Peterson homered. So did Justin Turner in that 6-2 Dodger win. Mets are going to LA after the series finale here tomorrow. Here's Kevin Plawecki, a double and an intentional walk tonight, 1 for 2. And takes a breaking ball for a strike.
You know, it's interesting. When I played for the Mets, we always used to bus from San Diego to LA, but they stopped doing that, but they're busing tomorrow.
Well, I don't think we've had many trips where San Diego and LA were connected. Foul, 0-2.
Have you bussed from San Diego to LA on a Sunday afternoon?
Many times. They try and take the inland route to try to avoid some of the traffic, but there's only so much you can do.
Good luck.
Alejandro Diaz out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Plawecki keeps the inning going.
Quick pitch.
And that's lined to left field. Upton going back, and it's over his head. Plawecki on his way to second. Upton makes the throw, and Plawecki keeps his hand on the bag. He's got his 2nd double of the night.
Well, Plawecki was ready. Villanueva okey-doked him with the quick windup. Watch this. Goes straight in, but he hangs a slider. And Plawecki was all over it. Nice to see him get off the schneid with a couple of doubles.
Had not had an extra base hit this season. The hardest part of the whole play was keeping his hand on second base.
Well, look at this slide. He slid like sideways. I honestly have never seen a slide like that.
So now Diaz will pinch hit for Blevins, who got the 1 big out against Jay in the bottom of the 7th. Addison Reed getting ready for the 8th. Diaz pinch hit last night and struck out for the final out of the night. And the curveball from Villanueva misses for ball one.
Upton showed a good arm, didn't he? Played it nicely off the fence, and one hopped it in there just a little off the base, and Rosales smartly kept it tagged. But watch the slide. It's like sights out.
Upton leads the National League with 4 outfield assists. He had one last night on that ill-advised send that resulted in Cabrera being thrown out of the plate. By the way, going back to that last night, remember the whole thing about Cabrera not having touched the plate?
Yes.
Talked to Terry Collins today. He said if the umpires had ruled that Norris dropped the ball, then it wouldn't have mattered that Cabrera didn't touch the plate. He still would have been awarded the run.
Doing in this game, ruining it. Just like the Utley play, right?
Exactly. The assumption is if they had called the play correctly in the first place, he would have touched the plate. So he did what you would normally do after a call's made, and that's stop.
We started.
We were revved up last night.
We were very calm today.
1-2 coming to Diaz. He just got a piece of that slider. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by NYU Langone Medical Center, made for New York.
It's Addison Reed getting ready for the 8th. I did my Buddhist chants and meditation today, Gary. Calm myself completely down. I'm in good shape now for the rest of the road trip.
And you went to Coronado for lunch.
I know, well, that just
that
chilled
probably
you
helped.
out.
Yeah.
Completely chilled you out. I do have to say, though, it doesn't matter where I eat. I could be in Anchorage, Alaska. At some point, Josh Ruin will show up. I mean, it's uncanny.
It's like the unsinkable Molly Brown. Zelig. That's it sharply, but right at Rosales. Makes the double grab and throws out Diaz to end the inning. That's now 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
Deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the.
Cologne looking for his first hit of the year.
He drives one. Deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened. This is one of the great moments in the history of baseball. Bartolo Cologne has gone deep.
The feature is called the play of the game, brought to you by Modell's, your fan gear headquarters. I would like to refer to that as the play of the decade. Here's your Land Rover line score. Cologne's 2-run homer in the second inning is the difference in this game. Addison Reed will try and protect a 1-run lead in the 8th.
He's been striking out people at a great rate. You know, I remember your double out of here call on the Beltran extra inning affair. I remember your David Wright call with thunder coming back in Philadelphia. That's right up there, pal.
This one was a little more stunning. Will Myers 0 for 3, and he chases the slider by Reed, 0-1. Addison Reed's been getting a lot of swings and misses with that slider early this season.
He worked on it in spring training to try to get a different tilt. How is he getting a different tilt? He's throwing a little more over the top, and everything off that has been better. His fastball's been sharper. His slider's been good. Occasionally he goes back to his bad habits, but for the most part he has been solid.
Poke to the right side. Walker's there to grab it, and Myers retired. 1 away. Will Myers, who homered his first time up in this series, 0 for 11 since. By the way, last night we were talking about Mets from Southern California, and we shorted Addison Reed.
Where's he from?
He's from Southern California, and he went to San Diego State. So he is right back home here at Petco Park.
Sorry about that, Addison.
Montclair. What is that?
Montclair? I have no idea. It's interesting. He looks a little like Aaron Heilman to me when it comes to the mound. The same kind of big-bodied guy, you know?
Matt Kemp is 0 for 3 tonight. Lined out, struck out, grounded out. Reed worked 2/3 of an inning last night. Right back out there tonight, trying to set it up for Familia, but he'll get the harder part of the order. He's already retired Myers. Now he has Kemp, Wallace on deck. And that's on the inside corner, 0-2.
See that slider there, that fastball there? He dropped down a little bit, and he got a little lazy with his arm, and he's underneath the ball. That's why the ball straightens out, ends up on the inside corner. When he's on top of it, that's when he gets to the outside.
0-2 to Kemp. The fouls went away. Reed, of course, used to pitch in the National League West when he was with the Diamondbacks.
He was at his worst when he was at the Diamondbacks. He was pretty lost, and they tried a lot of different things to get him going. And Dan Warthen and his crew here, Ricky Bonas, have done a really nice job with Addison.
A tapper foul. He's got a piece of that fastball at 94.
I know some folks, you know, all you think about is what has someone done for you lately. So you think of Trout and Harper and all those guys. Well, Matt Kemp was Trout and Harper at some point in his career when in 2011. That's how he thought of him.
0-2 coming. Checks the swing on the slider in the dirt. Kemp is done against Reed. Kemp is 1 for 10 in this series. 1 for 11 as Reed gets him with the slider. 2 men down.
Again, another slider that went straight down. It caught the middle of the plate, started in the middle, but watch it go straight down because he got on top of it. Starts at the knees, ends up at the toes.
He's throwing that pitch harder now too. That was 89 on that slider. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Brett Wallace, who's 0 for 2 in a walk tonight. Wallace filling in at third base for the injured Yangervis Solarte, who should be back in a week or so. Ryan Buchter up in the bullpen for the Padres.
Pitched in last night's game. He's a Jersey guy, right?
South Jersey. Ball Wallace has to lean back from that fastball. 1-1.
Good pitch there. Leaning all over the dish. Straighten him up.
We'd be happy to know things are back to normal for the Cincinnati bullpen after 23 straight games giving up a run. They had a clean one last night. Bullpen gave up 8 tonight. Milwaukee scored 7 runs in the 10th inning. 4 of them on Aaron Hill's grand slam, his 3rd home run of the game.
I saw that Joey Votto and Brandon Phillips played in their 1,000th game together in the Reds uniform.
And Phillips today homered for the 4th straight game. So just wanted to remind people I'm still here. 2-1 coming, and Wallace swings over the slider. 2-2.
Slider down. Wallace probably premeditatively decided to swing at that anyone trying to tie the game. I wonder if elevating a fastball with the uppercut that Wallace has would be a good pitch here.
Red Wallace, Ike Davis's old Arizona State teammate. Both of them were 1st-round draft picks. Ike by the Mets and Wallace by the Cardinals. Two from Reed. Missed low and in with the fastball. 3-2. Melvin Upton would be next. Mets 4 runs, 7 hits. Padres 3 runs, 6 hits.
Go back to that slider down and in off the plate.
3-2 coming. Fly ball center field. Cespedes started back, now has to race in, and he cannot make the catch. Wallace will hold at first base. Cespedes took one fateful step back, and it wound up costing, and he couldn't quite make the shoestring catch.
Well, teams love to play a no doubles defense, which means that most of the outfielders are scraping the back of the wall with their numbers, and he never could get in to make this play. You know, I think one of the things that is forgotten, and I'm not saying the play could have been made, but a lot of times infielders, when they're in double play depth, they never go out there to try to make that play. They can help with that.
You're right. Walker never made a move out there at all. So now the tying run is on first with 2 out. And here's Upton, who singled to center field his last time up. 1 for 3 on the day. And Upton swings and flies one down the right side. Walker closing on it, but it goes out of play. Upton 2 for 5 with 2 home runs in his career against Addison Reed. He takes another healthy cut and fouls it back. 0-2.
Reed's a pretty cool customer, huh? He doesn't really change his expression at all out there, and I think that's what you have to do when you're a reliever put in these tough circumstances.
Reed ahead 0-2. Line drive, base hit. Wallace around second. He'll go to third. Melvin Upton moves the tying run to third base. His second hit of the night.
Well, the call was for fastball up. Reed hit the glove. Not the right choice. Wallace first for third. And the Mets are in a little bit of a pickle.
Well, Addison Reed retired the first two on a ground down to strikeout. Looked like he had the third out when he popped up Brett Wallace, but Cespedes couldn't get to it. Now first and third after the Upton hit, and Alexei Ramirez at the plate. Ramirez 0 for 3 tonight. And taking all the way, a call strike.
His last at bat, he missed a changeup from Bard. Hit a ball to left field to Conforto, but just missed it. He does have pop, Ramirez.
One from Reed. And Ramirez takes a fastball strike, and it's 0-2. So the second straight hitter, Reed's gotten ahead 0-2. He gave up a 2-strike hit to Upton. Now 0-2 on Ramirez.
Your inclination here is to throw a pitch because you're so pumped up. Got to throw one over to first base to check Upton. Just one.
0-2. Upton runs, swing and a miss. He struck him out. Addison Reed strikes out Alexei Ramirez and strands the tying run at third. Big time pitching by Addison Reed. 4-3 Mets after 8. Here coming up next on Pix 11, it's the Pix 11 News with Corey Chambers. Over on SNY, it's WB Mason post-game live. Saw something that last half inning that I've never seen at a baseball game before. It was like being at a concert. All the fans here in San Diego opened their cell phone to light them up, kind of like you used to, flick your lighter in the old days. Now it's a cell phone, but I'd never seen that at a ball game before.
What is that? Was that their rally cap?
Yeah.
Their rally lighter?
I mean, there must have been 10,000 of them. Curtis Granderson 0 for 4 tonight, rolls one into the shift. Rosales, the second baseman, the quick throw to get Granderson one away. There's a taste of what it looked like. I mean, look at all those cell phones lit up.
I just figured Freebird was going to start playing or something.
I mean, you'd think they would do that when we're heading for extra innings because they want an encore.
Yes, exactly.
But they're hoping there are no extra innings tonight. They'd like to win this in 9. David Wright's been on base 4 straight times. Jeurys Familia getting ready in the Mets bullpen to try and save it. By the way, if there are no extra innings, then Curtis Granderson's offbeat streak will come to an end. 37 straight games reaching base on the road.
He'll take it for a win.
We'll trade that gladly. rough stretch for Grant. He's 2 for his last 28 with the 0 for 5 tonight.
They got a lot of guys on 0-fers and 2-fers. And
Conforto 0 for 17. Walker 0 for 18.
David's had a beautiful game tonight.
He drives one deep left field, headed back toward the wall. It's out of here! David Wright adds the insurance, his 4th home run of the year. Big night for David Wright, and it's 5-3 New York. Three home runs tonight for this high-powered Mets offense.
Well, a year ago at this ballpark, he was extremely emotional as he joined his teammates and wasn't sure if he'd ever get to run around the bases like he did right there. And that insurance run huge for the Mets. Walked the first 3 times, a base hit in his 4th at bat, the toe tap and the mash. Cespedes-like out to left field.
I thought you were going to say Cologne-like.
Conforto drives one deep right field. Forget it. That is way out of here. Into the Met fans. Back-to-back home runs for Wright and Conforto. And it's 6-3 New York. The 6th time this year already that the Mets have hit back-to-back home runs. Conforto snaps it 0 for 17 with a monstrous drive for his 5th home run of the season.
Well, he's a fan favorite already at a tender age. But you want to ensure that spot? Hit it to the folks in the orange. And he does.
Now it's Cespedes, who hit the Mets' first home run tonight.
He just has such a quick bat, and he tried to come inside with the fastball, but Villanueva, he doesn't have 90 plus. He has 90 less.
It's the 5th time this season that the Mets have hit 4 or more home runs in a game, but the first time that one of those 4 was hit by Bartolo Colon. Cespedes got it all started with the 2-run homer in the first.
Well, what I find interesting is just that, you know, this is great, these home runs, but the add-on runs in the top of a 9th inning are just huge for a ball club because it deflates the other club.
And there's ball 4 to Cespedes. So after giving up back-to-back home runs, Villanueva walks Cespedes. Some crack of the bat.
Yeah, when hitters center it like that, it's if you're a pitcher, hurts your feelings.
Darren Balsley, the longtime pitching coach for the Padres, trying to provide some counsel for Villanueva, who has been tattooed here in the 9th inning. Now it's Lucas Duda, 1 for 4 tonight. Doubled back in the 6th, has struck out his other 3 at bats. And Villanueva's missed with 5 in a row since giving up the 2 straight home runs. Well, this makes things a little more comfortable for Jerry's Familia as he gets ready to try and finish it in the bottom of the 9th. Duda hits one out to center field, but Jay has this one lined up. That's the 2nd out, and back to first goes Cespedes.
You know, for Villanueva, it's almost like, you know, when you're boxing, Gary, and someone hits you right on the nose, and you spend the rest of the time running around the ring along the ropes. Well, that's kind of what Villanueva is in the middle of right now after the back-to-back home runs. I mean, is it me, or does it seem like the Mets go back-to-back all the time?
6 times in 29 games. That's an incredible number. Walker hits one hard, but into the shift, and Rosales has it, and that retires the side. But the Mets play add-on in the 9th inning. Back-to-back homers by Wright and Conforto, and now it's in the hands of Jeurys Familia. Familia will bid for the save in the bottom of the 9th. Mets with a 6-3 lead in San Diego. Well, it's been a joyous night for the Met fans who have come in droves to Petco Park. They have seen some history. They've seen 4 more Mets home runs. Get to Citi Field for Family Sunday, May 22nd, when the Mets square off against the Brewers at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans will receive a bat and ball set as part of Major League Baseball's Play Ball Weekend. After the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. NYN AT moves to left field. Juan Lagares into play center, and Jeurys Familia on to try for his first save in the month of May.
Yeah, all those 8 saves came in April. Interesting with the defensive replacements. We had talked about Conforto maybe being taken out and Lagares inserted in earlier, but the score was closer. Now Conforto's out, and you're happy that he stayed in now with the back-to-back home runs with David.
Jerry figured he might get one more at bat, and that at bat resulted in a bomb. Here's Derek Norris. It's another big game against the Mets. 2 for 3. He's 5 for 9 in this series. And Norris takes one below the knees for ball 1. It's been a while since Familia's been on the mound. 5 days ago, Monday against Atlanta, he gave up a run in the 9th inning after coming in with a 4-run lead behind Cologne. Fastball strike at 96, 1-1 to Norris. Alex Dickerson is out on deck to pinch hit with the pitcher in the 8th spot, and then Adam Rosales in the 9-hole behind him. One and 2 to Norris. Four sinker at 97.
Yeah, that's the best way for us to tell the difference, because it's hard just with the naked eye. I just want him one time on the quick pitch to throw a slider. He's got to do it.
That's what Carlos Villanueva tried
Against Milwaukee, right?
Didn't work so well.
But that was out of the windup, so he quick winded up on him.
Mets 6 runs, 9 hits. The Padres 3 runs, 8 hits. The only San Diego runs coming on one swing by John Jay in the 3rd inning. 1-2 to Norris. Just missed. Slider. 2-2. Coming. Just got a piece of that one. Got some sink on it tonight.
This Norris, these have to be the best at bats he's taken all year long, considering his average.
Well, he came into the series hitting 138. He had 5 hits the last game he played against the Mets last year, and he's got 5 more hits in this series. Seventh pitch of the at-bat coming from Familia. Fly ball right field. Granderson squeezes it, 1 out. Now Alex Dickerson will be a pinch hitter.
I was thinking that with the 8 saves in April, you know, that's a lot of saves to have, but it really isn't. I mean, that's what it is for a closer, right? 6 months of 8 saves gets you to the magic number, 45 to 50.
Dickerson had a base hit as a pinch hitter last night. He rolls this one to the right side for Walker, and quickly there are 2 out. So the Padres are down to their final out of the night, and Adam Rosales will come up for the first time. Rosales took over at second base after Jamal Weeks was hurt in the 7th inning. Padres have confirmed it as a right hamstring strain for Weeks. And with Spangenberg already out, I would imagine Rosales will get the immediate playing time at second base for the Padres. To Rosales, and he bounces one foul, gets splittered by Familia. 1-1.
You know, there's so many Mets fans here that they played, you know, what does that go? Everybody clap your hands, that deal. And it was like they were at home. So, I mean, the Mets fans were just excited to be able to do exactly what they would do at Citi Field.
Slider in for a strike. 1-2 to Rosales, and now the Padres are down to their final strike.
Well, these Mets fans have been waiting 3 days for this, haven't they?
One-two. Off the corner with a quick pitch. Fastball. 2-2. Two out and nobody on. 6-3 New York, last of the night. Two.
He struck him out, and the ball game is over. Jerry's Familia puts away Adam Rosales for a 1-2-3 ninth. Bartolo Colon makes some history, becomes the oldest player to hit his first major league home run, and gets his 221st career victory to boot as the Mets hit 4 home runs and win it 6-3.
Well, it will be the game I always remember as the Bartolo Colon home run game.